Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Umchauskas. Today's the 15th of January 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay guys, so now then let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first chart I wanted to quickly touch on, and that's S&P 500. Now looking at this, of course, judging from where the cash index is trading currently, to be honest, it's going to be not far from where it closed yesterday. So it's going to be around the same area here, around the 2582 zone. But what we're going to keep a close eye on here is, of course, the recent highs that we saw here near the 2600. So the index managed to, well, actually fell just shy of reaching the 2600 level. And from there, it kind of retraced back down a little bit. Still remains above the 21 EMA here, shown as the yellow line. Looking at this daily chart, of course. So in a way, we could in a way continue targeting higher levels, especially if we're going to get a nice pop here above the 2600 level. So of course that's going to be the main one to watch this week, and maybe even actually today, who knows. Of course we do have a big day today, a lot of Brexit concerns, the UK Parliament vote and all that. So looking at this again from the technical side, look, if we're going to get a nice pop here above the 2600 level, certainly we could see this one traveling further up here, and of course the upside could be limited due to this downside resistance line taken from the highs of the 3rd of October. So this medium-term downside resistance line could in a way act as a good area of resistance. So, and also this is the area near the 2672 level. This is something that we could keep an eye on as well. So basically, long story short, guys, a break above the 2600 could potentially increase the chances of this one running towards a retest of the 2672 level, or even, like I said, this downside resistance line. On the downside, if this suddenly starts dropping below the 2021 EMA, shown here as the yellow line, certainly we're going to target the 2520 level, marked here by the highs of the 28th of December and also by the 2nd of January. So it acts as a nice area of resistance. Now we'll take the role of a support level. It could of course take the role of the support level, but slightly below that you have I have this area here highlighted. So this kind of slightly highlighted dashed line here, now that just kind of show you where the this year's opening price was, and that was around the 2476.96 level. So also could be an interesting level for a test, but only if we're gonna get a drop below the 2520 level. So that's quite important here, guys. So that's why for now this is just an idea. The downside is kind of slightly off the table, and also something for you to kind of keep in mind here is this little very short-term upside support line here. So in a way you could keep a close eye on that one. This could be your confirmation. So basically, if this starts dropping below the 21 EMA, this could eventually also drop below this upside support line, this very short-term steep upside support line. And if we do have something like this, then I mean then we could consider a possible move towards the 2520 level. But for now guys, judging by the picture that we're seeing here, certainly it could continue climbing higher. The momentum is still there. Of course, maybe if it wants to retrace a little bit first and then push higher, of course that could be the third possibility here, but for now we're just going to play it carefully, play it simple. So basically a nice good pop above the 2600 level could open the path towards higher levels here, where we could then aim for this downside resistance line. But on the downside, we're just going to, even if we're going to drop below this short-term upside, steep upside support line, still our kind of, for us to get comfortable with lower levels, we would need to see a nice good drop below the 2520 level. So let me just actually put some arrows here for our future reference, so that we could refer to that later on. So yep, this is what I was talking about just right now. So keep a close eye on these levels, guys. Let's see how this plays out. Jumping into one commodity, or should I say precious metal, and that's platinum. Now this is a very interesting one. As you can see that we did have a nice break of this short-term downside resistance line. We had a nice break in the beginning, in the first days of January, had a nice run here towards the 826 and slightly above that 830 level. Since then it kind of retraced back down, and now we're currently bouncing around this 800 zone. So in a way, the psychological 800 level becomes an interesting one to watch. Certainly we did fall a little bit lower today, but as you can see, the precious metal managed to quickly get back above it, the psychological 800 level, and now it's currently trading around there. Also from the technical side, you could have a look at this Bollinger Band, and you can see that the 20 SMA here inside this Bollinger Band is kind of also acting as somewhat as a support area, but of course it's don't rely on that too much. It can easily get broken, but just something for you guys to keep an eye on. So in a way, if this reverses back up and travels back above the 808 level, now this is where it could become interesting for the bulls again, where they could potentially drive this one back to up here towards the 830 level, towards these recent highs, or even actually going all the way towards this 200 EMA, shown as the black line. But for now, of course, we're just gonna play it carefully. Again, this is the level that we're gonna keep an eye on the upside, the 808 level, approximately there. You can see that also acted as a nice area of the closing area for of the 11th of January daily candle, and also the opening price of the 14th of January. So quite an interesting level this one is. So that's why, like I said, the 808 will be on our radar. If, let's say, this decides to travel lower and decides to drop below this 20 SMA that I was talking about, now certainly it is opening the path towards lower levels. The only thing is that you need to keep in mind in here is this little well, should I say probably a medium term upside support line taken from the lows of the 16th of August, and you should in a way keep a close eye on this one, because this could be your level to target, this could be your area to target around this this upside support line. Of course it could provide some support, even though it's a bit of maybe a tentative, some would say, because we do have a big gap here, a big empty space around this area. So that's why, even like I said, even don't rely too much on it. Just kind of keep it in your head here, that the downside could get limited around this upside support line. But if the selling momentum is strong, actually we could see further declines here. This is where we could then test the 780 level marked by the lows of December, so basically near the lowest point of December. So this could be the interesting potential area of support. And for those who are looking at this from the more longer term perspective, you could in a way keep an eye on the 780 levels. So a nice good break below this could open the path towards much lower levels, towards levels that we saw back here in August last year. But again, that's what's in regards to the downside. So for now, it is a very tricky one. Even though it got held here near this 20 SMA, still in order to kind of consider a a move back up here, we would need to see a nice good break above the 808 level. And on the downside, even if it decides to travel lower here, to be honest, this is going to be our little neutral zone here, and we will only consider a possible move lower if we're going to get a nice break here below this medium-term upside support line, or actually this, for better confirmation, a break below the 780 level. Jumping into a few other pairs now, or should I say, no, I wouldn't say other pairs, but some just pairs. CAD yen. Now this is something that you probably don't look at very often, but it is a very interesting pair because both of the currencies are kind of somewhat strong right now, strongish. And looking at this chart, it seems that the CAD still kind of has a bit of an upper hand against the yen, and certainly this is a very interesting formation that's building up right now here on the daily chart. We could say even that it's a bit of a bullish one, because you can see that the pair failed to drop lower and failed to drop below the 81.30 level. So this is kind of becoming a nice area of support from which today the pair is bouncing higher. The only thing is that we're still gonna remain neutral, somewhat neutral on this, because for us to get comfortable with higher levels, we need to see a nice good pop above the 82.15 level, and then we could aim for a possible test of the 83.75 level. You can see that in the past year it acted as a very nice area of support. Now it could play the role of resistance, so that's why, guys, don't rush into this yet. Keep a close eye on it. If we do get a nice pop above the 82.15, wonderful for the bulls. We could see this one traveling further up here. Still, the only problem is this little downside resistance line that in a way could hold up the rate from accelerating further. So that's why, guys, that's why we're not kind of targeting even higher levels. We're just gonna kind of play it safe, try to see if we do get to this level here, if we do get a test of this downside resistance line and this 83.75 level, this will be very interesting to see. But again, I'll repeat myself, a break above that, above the 82.15 level, that's what we need in order to kind of start considering higher levels. On the downside, well, you probably understood, we need to see a drop below the 81.30, and then we will aim for the recent lows that we saw here in the beginning of January, and now this is where we will aim for the 79.70 levels. So keep your eyes on that one. GBP yen, a very interesting pair, especially looking at the developments today. I do apologize for the amount of lines here on my chart, but still kind of wanted to keep some of them. Looking at this daily chart, basically I'm not going to even probably jump into the 4-hour because it's already kind of, you can see the developments here. Today, this morning, we had a nice push above this downside resistance line here, taken from the high of the 8th of November. We had a nice push, and it seems that it wants to travel further up here. We had a nice break of the psychological 140 level, but the bears quickly took control of it and managed to drive the pair all the way back down below this downside resistance line. Certainly this creates a bit of more negativity around this. Of course, we're not going to rush into this yet, because given the developments that we're having today around Brexit, so basically we're just going to continue observing this one. But to be honest, from the technical side, if this decides to drop below the 138.66 level, approximately there, then potentially we could consider a possible move lower, and this is where we will aim for the lows that we saw here back in on the 10th of January, and that was approximately around the 137.50 level, something like that. So keep your eyes on that one. But if that doesn't hold, well, further declines could be possible, but let's probably not rush into that yet, and let's see how this plays out. So that's why, like I said, a drop below the 138.66 level could open the path towards these lower levels. But if this suddenly reverses back up here and travels back towards the psychological 140 level, now this is where it could become again interesting for the bulls. So keep your eyes on that one. Looking at this one, looking at the euro dollar, so today we're having a bit of a down day, and managed to test the 1.1425 level, but actually even managed to drop even lower towards the 1.1415 area, approximately there. But from this is where it's kind of found its little support from which it reversed reversed back up here and now it's trading near the 114.40. A bit of a tricky pair, certainly still trading above this. We can say maybe a short-term upside support line taken from the lows of November. But to be honest, if this wants to travel further up here, higher, it could potentially do with a bit of correction here to the downside here. It can maybe test this upside support line and maybe rebound from it and then push higher again. But of course, this is a bit of a long shot and a bit of a crazy idea, maybe some could say. But basically, keep a close eye on this 114.25 level again, because if this decides to drop for again below this 114.25, this is where it could then travel further down towards a retest of this upside support line, and if it fails to get below this, then this upside support line could act as a nice bouncing ground for the pair and for the bulls to step in and drive this one further up here again. But again, for now, just let's continue observing this one. Let's see what it wants to do with this 114.25 level, if it actually wants to travel lower or not. If suddenly this decides not to go below the 114.25 and decides to reverse straight away higher, well, keep your eyes on the 115 level, the psychological 115. A nice good break above that straight away could open the path towards these recent highs that we saw near the 115.70, which also coincides here with the 200 EMA. So keep your eyes on that one. Very interesting pair. In order to kind of consider this this pair moving to the downside in the near term, we would probably need to see a nice good drop below this upside support line, and only then we'll consider a further move down towards the of course the 113 level, or below that the 112.70. So keep your eyes on that one. And the last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I was covering this one this morning. Just wanted to kind of quickly recap what's happening with the EUROCAD. So this morning I was telling you guys to keep an eye on this symmetrical triangle, the squeeze that we're having here and we had here in EUROCAD. So it broke this triangle to the downside and broke the lower side, and basically this is where I was talking about to keep a close eye on this level here around the 150, 180. We managed to break that one, and now we're testing the 150, 145 zone. So as you can see, we at one point we did have a nice pierce through that level, but the bulls managed to quickly drive this one back up here, and now this is the level this is the level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. It currently is acting as a nice area of support, this 150, 145, so keep on monitoring that one. But if we do have another leg of selling here, then if we do get a nice break below this 150, 145, now this is where it could become interesting, because we could maybe retest this long-term, or should I say more actually medium-term upside support line. So we could maybe have a nice test of that one. The area to watch around there could be around the 150, 80, 85, something like that, approximately there. Near, it was marked last time, marked by the low of the 14th of December. So keep your eyes on that one. But again, for now, guys, from the very short-term perspective, keep an eye on the 150, 145. If this gets broken, then yep, further declines are possible, but then the downside could get limited near this upside support line. If this suddenly reverses strongly back up here and moves higher, back above this, or should I say back inside this triangle, and then moves above this upper side of the triangle, then yep, I mean, we could start considering a possible move higher here and higher levels, and the 152.65 could be the next potential area of resistance, which if it gets broken, could open the path towards much higher levels. But then again, for now, let's just play it, let's kind of play it short. Let's see how this plays out near the 150, 145 level, and if we do get a break here below, then yep, further declines are possible. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for watching and listening, and do apologize for running a bit over my time, but if you found it useful, I'm very happy, and if you want to join me later on in my tomorrow morning in my Traders Espresso at 7 o'clock GMT time. But just to quickly remind you guys, be very careful with the pound pair today, and let's see how developments kind of go on around Brexit today. So yep, it will be interesting to watch. Have a nice evening, everybody. Bye bye.